Hello, everyone. Welcome to From Her Perspective. I'm your host, First Lieutenant Nakia Comer, and I am here with Lieutenant Scotti Culton. Scotti, if you don't mind, please tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Well, first of all, I have to say it again, Nick. Thank you so much for including me on this incredible podcast. It just speaks volumes of who you are and the impact that you have already made and that you will continue to make. So with that, Scotti Culton. I have been in the military for 7 years. The first 4 were in the Marine Corps. I went through Officer Candidate School, OCS. It was a hell of a ride, and I loved every second. I was in from 2015 to 2019. I went into the reserves at the 03, did a quick inter-service transfer to the Coast Guard. So I got out of the Marine Corps in October of 2019, and I joined the Coast Guard in the beginning of 2020, which takes us to present day. I am a lieutenant junior grade as a response officer in the Coast Guard, which basically means Coast Guard does 11 different statutory missions. My main responsibility of those 11 missions is search and rescue. So I stand a 24-hour duty about 10 times a month, just making sure that the Great Lakes are taken care of, that people on the water feel safe, and if something were to arise, some type of emergent situation, I'm reaching out and making sure our assets are ready and available to respond to that.
Awesome. And Scotti, how many, if you don't mind sharing, about how many females do you work with?
I work with, it's actually a lot, Nick. It's a lot more than what most people get to. I work with 4 other females.
That is actually quite a bit compared to a lot of the other people that I've talked to as well. So that's awesome.
Yeah, it's a great environment. We all come from different backgrounds. One of the officers, I should say, is she came from the Navy and is now in the Coast Guard. One was a pilot, and now she was an officer as well. So just a lot of different life experience, I should say, coming into this sector specifically. So it's a great group of just overall officers as well as female officers to be around.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Scotti. So this episode is very important to me. It's different than what I have done before. Before this summer, actually, I've only really interacted with female officers or male officers that were in the Army. I never really got the chance to interact with people in other branches until this summer. I got the opportunity to play on Team USA with Scotti, and we played soccer at the Military World Cup, and it was absolutely amazing. But on that team, kind of what Scotti was kind of just pointing at too, we had lieutenants from, and even more than just lieutenants too, but from every single branch, I think, was just about represented, which is so cool because that's something that I've never been around before. And it was such a large group of women, and each one of them was so powerful.
Right. I absolutely agree.
So I think that I thought after experiencing that it was time to get someone, some other perspectives on the show other than Army. And when I thought of Scotti, I knew that she was the one to kind of break that barrier for this podcast. I think anyone who has had the opportunity to even spend, whether you spend a minute with Scotti or you spend, 1 year, everyone knows that Scotti's going to fight for you and kind of make your voice feel heard. So Scotti, on previous episodes, we have shared what it has been like for female leaders in the Army trying to break female stereotypes. May you please share how that was for you when you entered the Marines?
Oh man, I would love to. I would say my perspective, my experience probably was different than most. I joined the Marine Corps at 25 years old, so a little bit older, a little bit more life experience than most females, I should say. But with that, I also had a background coming from collegiate sports. So I came in with a pretty decent physical composition and and that was kind of the allure for me of the Marine Corps, was just how intense they are. That's my personality. I love to push myself to the limits, especially physically. So when I joined, I was able to perform very well in the physical fitness side. And I think with that, I truly never felt like I was looked at differently because I was a female. I was taken as a Marine, and the Marine Corps mindset was you take care of each other, and if I can do that, if I can showcase that I'm able to throw myself into a situation I really don't know anything about, perform to the best of my ability, and perform to the ability of the people to my left and right, I'm good. Even in boot camp, as hard as the male drill instructors were, I know they cared about me because they knew my output was 100%. So, throughout 2 companies of Marine Corps officer candidates, and that's usually around 200 to 250 people, I was up there. I was the highest. I had the highest physical fitness percentage, and with that, the female platoon we had 26 females that graduated. Our platoon won the fitness award.
Wow.
So it was really cool, but honestly, it didn't feel like we were females that won it. It just felt like our Marine Corps platoon won it. Our platoon won it because we did the exact same thing that all the male counterparts did. And we just did it better, and they congratulated us for it. There was no snide remarks. There was no anything. And that was kind of my entire career in the Marine Corps was, I'm not a female. I'm a Marine. I'm a Marine officer, and that's it. And there was no differential treatment except, I don't know if you experienced this, Nick, but when you're on duty or you're just walking around in uniform, you get a young enlisted individual walking your way. They don't usually see female officers, so most of the time it was just making sure they did the greeting of the day, and it usually ended with sir. But I don't think it was at all because of any other reason, but they were a little nervous. So other than that, it was just such an incredible experience, and I have nothing but good things to say about my environment and the atmosphere that was created for me to grow as a leader. And that was my biggest reason joining, was I understood how to perform. I understood going on the field and making sure that I left everything on it, but I didn't really know what leadership was. And the Marine Corps kind of put it all together for me in terms of what does it mean of actually taking care of people. And it's still growing, my mindset, of course, of what I believe leadership is. Mm-hmm. But they definitely laid down the foundation of not what a female is supposed to do or what a male is supposed to do, is what a leader is supposed to emulate and how they can best take care of the people that they're around.
And would you say that your experience was the same as when you changed to the Coast Guard?
No, I wouldn't say that. And I don't think it's anything against the Coast Guard. I think it's a mentality that you gain going through different struggles. And that's what Officer Candidate School and the Basic School, which are the 2 schools that you need to go through in order to become a Marine Corps officer. So you endure a lot of stressful events together, knowing that everyone does it.
Right.
And it's not just boot camp. It's just a completely different mindset. So I just don't think the Coast Guard has the ability to provide that, the resources and the overall output for what the Coast Guard does. It's a different mission set, and it's a different organization entirely.
Okay.
So I definitely experienced a little bit more of like a business mindset with the Coast Guard, and with that I got the feelings of female officer versus male officer, but nothing at all blatant, or I mean, it was a different experience, and I'm grateful for it. But the Marine Corps definitely left such a lasting impact. I would say more so than the Coast Guard in terms of impactful leadership.
That's so awesome to hear how supportive your leadership was, especially in the Marines. And I feel like, and maybe you can correct me on this, but your story about, you know, how you and your other female classmates were treated as you were going through, and how you guys were also physically fit. And a lot of times people equate, like, if you just show up, sometimes females are given a question mark, whether they can perform, whether that's athletically or if they just have like work competency. But normally others' first impression of females are maybe like a fitness test or something of that nature. And normally people correlate physical fitness with how well you work, which isn't always the case. But however, that's why it is super important, just like you said, for people to show up, especially females, to show up physically fit, because that first impression is key. It can really impact like how you're treated for the rest of your time, you know, whether you're in basic or whatever the case may be.
Oh, absolutely. I totally agree, Nick. I think the overall perception isn't, oh my gosh, this girl or this female is so physically fit. It's, no, she's devoted to excellence. She is dedicated to ensuring that she's not just meeting the standard, she's going past it. You know, there's so many different layers to what it means to be physically fit. And I think to some people that's kind of a different mindset, right? Like, it's not just about being physically fit. Of course not. It's not even close to being like that. But if you have the ability to get that out of the way and make it not even a thought you have to worry about, I think it speaks volumes to your dedication and what you want to do with your time in service.
Right.
You know?
And how did you get so motivated to always want to be better and break these barriers?
Oh gosh, I don't know if it's I always want to be better or break barriers. It's really, I love competition. I love the fact of pushing myself. And Nick, I think it's so interesting to me that we all come from different backgrounds. I didn't know you prior to that soccer tournament, but I guarantee you we share the exact same feeling when it comes to putting ourselves in situations and making sure we perform the best possibly that we can. So I don't know where it comes from. I think it's just an innate ability of wanting the best, not even just for me. And I think that was the biggest reflection point when I joined the Marine Corps. Was when I was in college, I was lucky enough to be team captain for the team I was on. But in my mind, I was thinking that means, again, like performing the best I possibly can on the field. And if somebody isn't performing at the best they possibly can, I call them out because that's my role. And that's not the case. That's not how it's supposed to be. And having that reflection point of, yeah, you know, we want to push ourselves to the limit and make sure we're giving our best possible experience, but also full circle of, is everybody okay? You know, like, yes, we're performing, but mentally, what are those barriers that may be in place that we're not even thinking about? So, I mean, I love the life experience. And for me, if I'm not doing it 100%, if I'm not being able to put myself in a situation where I can fully engulf every single person and understand where they come from and gain something back, and hopefully, give them the same respect and give them something impactful, then I'm not doing life right, because I love it. Every single experience, it brought me to this point right now where I'm talking to such an incredible individual, and we're sharing stories that, is going to last lifetimes. So I can't tell you what triggers me to do these things. That's how happiness comes to me. I don't know. Hopefully it's a very long-winded answer. I don't even know if I answered your question.
No, you definitely did, plus more. So you just brought me to another point. Okay, so you mentioned, checking in and taking care of your people, and also how you kind of use every day as an opportunity to, make others happy, or just making every day count. How has your leadership style, changed since you first became an officer? Because I know you mentioned in the beginning that, you didn't have the idea of what you wanted your leadership style to be at first. So how has that kind of evolved over time?
Yeah, it's such a great question, Nick. I think it changes, or evolves, I should say, almost daily, where you meet or go through life in so many different ways, and you have so many different chances that you can take that experience from. So what I'm trying to say is, starting out, you think you know what leadership is, and you're around people that are very impactful to you, and you have certain tendencies that you gravitate towards. So at first it's performance, like it's performance based solely, because that's what you know, and that's what got you into the leadership role. Is you're a high performer and you do something very well. And I think that's just a very surface level. So once you're there, now you're going to look for other people to emulate, because you want to keep moving forward and go even farther than just club captain. Like for me, for example, I was club captain in high school. Well, I want to be captain for my college team. Well, how do I do that? I mean, I'm with all these people that have the same skill level that I do. So what can I pull, whether it's from my coaches, it's from my teachers, it's from, impactful people that I surround myself with that are successful. How are they successful? And that's just one aspect of that leadership mentality, and always growing. Because I think, whether it's a good experience with somebody or a bad experience with someone, you're still taking something from that and kind of shaping how you want to be the most impactful. And that's how I see it anyway, is, I remember this person and their devotion or their ability to just observe. And this was my platoon commander when I was at OCS. She was the silent but deadly type, right? So she would observe all of us, and at the end of the day, just pull somebody aside very quietly and talk to them about, their struggles. She sees it and provides some insight as to how they do better and still stay in. Because 10 weeks is a long time of just grueling work. And just these little pieces of advice, these little gems go so far. So I think it's just pulling from different people that you want to emulate, as well as looking back on your experience and what you remember to be positive or negative. And kind of it's this ever evolving mindset and feeling of, how can I help or just propel people around me to get them to their best possible state.
That's so beautiful. That is actually really beautiful. So, do you have any advice for women who are kind of having the opposite experience of what you had? They're having a hard time being heard and navigating how to prove their competency to their leadership. Do you have any words of encouragement for them?
I think being steadfast in who they believe themselves to be, and being so confident and not second guessing, like, should I say something? would it look bad if I went to my boss and actually told him the struggles that I'm going through? Because I don't want to look weak. I don't want to look like I can't handle it because I'm a female.
Right.
You know what I mean? And already putting that little thought in your head, you're already so far past so many people. Keep going. The best thing that you can do is communicate. And if for some reason they don't want to hear you, that's on them. And you keep going further. If your boss doesn't want to hear you and you did everything in your power to be respectful and as honest and transparent as possible, that person has a boss too. And I know it's kind of taboo, but you're doing everything in your power. You're going up the chain of command. The chain of command, they will hear you when you get to the right person. And I know it's scary, but it's so incredibly important because you have to be true to yourself and you have to be confident that you deserve to be heard and your feelings matter regardless of if you're in the military or not. We need to take care of our people. And if our people are struggling, we need to know about it. So not saying something and harboring those feelings, I think causes more resentment and you detract even more from your role. But it's hard, right? And I totally get that. And it's so much easier said than done because you're in probably an unhealthy relationship. But you just got to believe in yourself. And I think that's the hardest part is we hold ourselves to such a high pedestal because that's what most females do. We want to perform to our best level. And if it's communicating something other than that reality, it's pretty scary because, your performance is on the line. And with that, we're all graded on some type of performance evaluation. So long story short is just know that you are strong and capable. And if you need somebody, I'm always here. And I don't care if you know me or not. You have somebody in your background and cheering for you is everything. So having somebody that you feel comfortable with talking to is super important as well. So be honest and transparent with your work. And if they can't handle it, then we go to the next person up.
That's really true. I had one of my leadership recently told me that they didn't think that I would be effective moving to the next position because they said that I was too nice, that I smile too much, and that you can't smile in the Army. So it took me a second to kind of, I don't know, battle my way through that, deciding if, okay, do I show up and am I just not Nakaya, am I just not, do I not smile? Do I pretend to be, not authentic so I can please my, my commander? Or do I do what, I know has been working for me and what makes me happy? And
how did you make that choice, Nick?
It was honestly, it was pretty easy because I could not, it was way too hard for me to show up and not be authentic. As soon as I saw the people, like the soldiers in the company, like they make me smile as soon as I see their face. So when I see their face, I just can't help it but to smile, and then it's done. Then is no way I can go back to not smiling.
Yeah.
So
there's no way I can see you.
Exactly. And how it would just be so difficult to come to work every day and not be happy with where you are when there are already, a lot of things that could make, working in the military stressful. That should definitely not be one to add on top, for sure.
No, I agree. And I think you have to work, at least 2 times harder trying to be somebody or not. And for what? In hopes to make one person, yes, they are probably your direct supervisor, in hopes to make them happy. But in all reality, I think that's a pretty dangerous mindset to be in, because you kind of lose that uniqueness about yourself because you're trying to, I don't know, be that person that they want you to be. But do you even like that person? And then it goes into a whole different crazy mindset where if that supervisor, if they're giving you the best possible information for you to be successful, it's be authentic, because people will see right through that. You know what I mean? So if it's anything other than that, take what their advice is, grain of salt. So, you're not changing who you are, but you're still being respectful, I guess it just hurts to hear that would even be a piece of advice, is you're too nice or you smile too much, it's so interesting. And I think how you dealt with that is incredibly impressive.
Thank you,
There's
Scotti.
nothing that you can do. Yeah, there's nothing you can do about that, Nick. I mean, putting yourself in a stressful situation, dealing with people that have a lot of life stressors as well. You're in the military. I mean, a smile goes such a long way. You would think he would be telling other people to emulate you. So it's just kind of crazy what people deem appropriate or commendable, I should say. So.
I agree, and I definitely think that you should just stick with what you said and just be yourself, because you might even end up just changing that supervisor's mind, and then next time they meet another person like you, they're not going to think that same thing again, because they're going to know that you proved them wrong, that even though you were smiling and laughing all the time, you were a great leader and you got work done. So you might change their mind. But Scotti, I am so sorry, but we are all out of time. I would like to give you a huge, huge, huge thank you for joining me on the show today. As always, I enjoyed the different perspectives that you shared today.
Oh my gosh, it truly was a pleasure. I wish we had 10 more hours to talk about this, because it's so important. And I think these conversations stem or, plant the seed for other females to feel empowered and excited about the work that they do. It pains me to hear that people have other perspectives and they have to go through these challenging times dealing with the fact that they are treated different, when we should be, celebrated. And it should never be about genders or races or sexes or religious backgrounds. It should truly be, what's our main goal and how can we accomplish that to the best of our ability while enjoying it, while we do it right. Because if you're not enjoying what you're doing, then what are you doing with your life?
Right.
So it's just, hopefully, and I think we're in the midst of a really, really big shift. So I can't tell you how proud I am to be a part of this, Nick. I can't tell you how excited I am to see where you specifically go and the impacts that you make, because you're part of this new shift, this new change, and we desperately need it. So I'm here for whatever I can be, but like I said in our fun team chat, I'm your biggest cheerleader. So if you ever have anybody that, you want to send my way, or that you think I can help, please let me know, and I will reach out at any time.
Thank you so much, Scotti. That is all the time we have. Join us next month for another eye-opening conversation from the female leader point of view, from her perspective.